Most people understand Buddha's teachings as lifestyle advice. Be moderate, think positive, do good things, get good things back. That version is not really wrong, but it's a bit shallow. It misses what the teachings are actually pointing at. They are not instructions for how to behave, they are maps of inner mechanics. They describe what is happening inside you, the friction, the pressure, and what changes when you finally see it clearly. Buddha himself said, "Do not believe something because you heard it, because many people repeat it, because it is written down, or because a teacher told you so. Only accept what you can verify in your own direct experience." That's the standard he set. And that's the standard we like to repeat here. 10 teachings, each one pointing to an inner shift, not an external behavior. It's not a moral instruction, no self-improvement plan, just a clear look at how the inner world actually works and how we can recognize it more clearly. By the way, if you feel like going a bit deeper, there's a free guide in the top comment below. Check it out. Teaching 1, the middle way. Most people think the middle way is about moderation. Not too much, not too little. Balance your lifestyle. That's the surface reading, and it mostly misses the point. What Buddha was actually pointing at is something you can feel right now if you look. Suffering does not come from having things. It does not even come from wanting things. It comes from the moment wanting becomes insistence. This must go my way. I need this to work. I cannot rest until this changes. That inner push, that subtle pressure, that's where the friction starts. You push hard for a while, then collapse. You restrict yourself for a while, then lose control entirely. You try to improve yourself, then quietly resent the whole effort. The mind swings between I must get this and I must get rid of this. It's either too much or too little. However, the middle way is not some middle point between those two extremes. It is what remains when you stop swinging entirely. This teaching was not originally meant to be about food or money or lifestyle. It was a direct response to a very specific trap, the trap of spiritual effort. The idea that if you push hard enough, discipline yourself strictly enough, want awakening badly enough, you can force it to happen. The problem with trying to fix yourself is that the thing doing the fixing is the same thing that created the problem. You cannot pressure your way out of pressure. The moment the search for liberation becomes a project, another thing to succeed at, another version of yourself to build, you have stepped away from what you're actually looking for. The middle way is the collapse of that effort. Not giving up, not indulging, just stopping the force. Seeing the clench for what it is, clearly enough that it relaxes on its own. Now the urgency is gone. Then you can continue on your path, but this time in a relaxed, easygoing way, not worrying about the outcome anymore. Teaching 2, right view. Something happens that you don't like. Maybe someone says something, maybe a plan falls apart. Maybe the date just goes wrong, and right away, before you even think about it, you refuse it. You don't want it to be true. This should not be happening. This is not how it was supposed to go. Then comes the reaction. A feeling rises up, anger, hurt, frustration. That's natural. But then something else happens. You look at your reaction and you don't like that either. You tell yourself, You shouldn't be feeling this way. You should be calmer. You should be past this by now. You need to change it. So now you're refusing two things: what happened and how you feel about it. Here's what's actually going on. The world did something. The world does things constantly. It doesn't do them to you, it just does them. But somewhere along the way, you started taking it personally. You started reading every unwanted event as if it were aimed at you. As if the world knows your name and is making a point. Right view is simply seeing that. The world is doing what the world does. It's not about you. And your reaction to the event and to your own feelings is what happens because you're taking things personally. It's really just a habit. And habits, once you see them clearly, start to lose their grip. Seeing the world as it is, without coloring it with your personal preferences of how you want it to be different, that's the whole point. You may be able to change some things, but sometimes you just have to accept them as they are. That includes your own reactions. Just accept and move on. Teaching 3. Karma. Karma is not about cosmic reward and punishment like most people think. It does not mean fate or destiny either. It does not mean the universe is keeping score on all your deeds. The original teaching is this: karma is intention, not what you do, the impulse behind it. Buddha said it plainly. Mental volition is what karma is. Having willed something, then you act. The action follows the intention, and that intention is what shapes you. Every time you act from fear, fear becomes easier. Every time you act from resentment, resentment becomes your first response. Every time you pause before reacting, that pause becomes more available. You're not being judged. You're being conditioned by what you yourself keep repeating. This is happening whether you notice it or not. You think one defensive comment means nothing. One sarcastic reply. One moment of quiet contempt. But small things repeated become character. And character becomes the lens through which you experience everything. But you're not a fixed person. You're a collection of reinforced habits. That means you're not trapped by who you have been, but it also means you're responsible right now for what you keep feeding. Not in some future life, in this one, in this moment. Every repeated intention is either deepening an old pattern or beginning to dissolve it. That's the only karma that matters. Karma is the accumulation of habits. Every repeated thought and action strengthens a pattern. And over time, those patterns slowly shape your character and your experience. That's what they mean when they say what you send out, you will receive back. Your attitude and your habits do determine your experiences in life. Teaching 4. Impermanence. There is a story you're telling yourself now, and you may not even know you are. The story goes like this: there is more time. More time to finally get it. More time to wake up. More time to really be present. Later, when things settle, when you're more ready, when conditions are better. You may not notice because it feels like common sense. Of course there's more time, right? But look at what that assumption is doing. It's keeping you out of this moment. Right now. Because if more time is coming, then this moment is just a waiting room, and you treat it like one. This is the real issue with impermanence. Not that life is short, but you keep postponing the only thing that cannot be postponed. Awakening does not happen later. It cannot. Later is not a place. It doesn't exist. There is only ever this moment, and then this one, and then this one, each one ending before you can hold it. The conversation ends, the mood shifts, the version of you that existed this morning is already gone. Everything is constantly ending, the small things, the ordinary things, this moment right now as you move through it. And if you're waiting for a better moment to be present, a quieter mind, a cleaner life, a stronger practice, you're waiting for something that will never arrive, because the mind will always find a reason to wait. That is what the mind does. But this moment right now is not a rehearsal, it's the real thing. Awakening cannot happen sometime ahead of you. It can only happen here and now. Teaching 5. Integration takes repetition. You hear a truth and feel it land. Genuinely feel it. Something shifts, something clicks, and for a moment everything is clear. That moment is real, but it's not transformation. It's a glimpse. And a glimpse on its own changes nothing. The teaching here is simple. Drop by drop, the water pot fills. Not through breakthroughs, through repetition. The self is not reshaped by insight. It's reshaped by what you come back to again and again until the old patterns slowly fade and are replaced by the new. This works in both directions. Every time you rehearse impatience becomes faster. Every time you let quiet self-criticism run without questioning it, it becomes a part of who you are. You're filling the pot constantly, every minute of the day. The only question is, what are you filling it with? Most people want this single transformative moment that changes everything. The grand realization, the experience that finally makes everything different. And sometimes those moments do happen. But if you don't return to what you understood in that moment, if you don't sit with it again, test it again, apply it again in the ordinary friction of the day, it fades. The old grooves are deeper, old habits win by default. Understanding something once is not enough. The soul needs to return to the same truth 100 times before it overrides the old pattern. That is not a failure of intelligence. That is simply how inner change works. Slowly, by repetition, drop by drop, until the truth is not something you remember. It is the very ground you're standing on. Knowing something is not enough. You need to integrate it, and then it becomes second nature. Teaching 6. Make every word count. The Buddha once compared small streams and great rivers. Small streams make a lot of noise as they rush over stones. Great rivers move quietly. They are deeper and they don't splash around as much. But this is not really about being silent. It's about depth. When your mind reacts to everything, it keeps producing thoughts and comments. If you speak every time a thought appears, your words will come out in a constant stream. One idea leads to another, then another. Soon you're talking just because the mind keeps moving. In that state, many words don't carry much weight. They're just the mind thinking out loud. But when you actually see something clearly, your speech changes. You don't feel the need to comment on everything. You don't have to explain every thought or fill every quiet moment. This doesn't mean you must become quiet or serious. Some people are naturally talkative. Talking itself is not the problem. The real question is simple. Do your words carry meaning? Many things people say each day are just quick reactions. They repeat passing thoughts. They add noise to the moment. But when you speak from something you actually understand, Your words become simple. You say what matters and leave the rest. Nothing needs to be forced. You're not trying to sound wise or careful. It happens on its own because you're no longer repeating every thought that appears in the mind. Your speech becomes clearer. It becomes more direct. And when that happens, every word counts. Teaching 7. Conflict and compassion. The Buddha said, hatred never ends hatred. It may sound like a moral lesson, but it's really just an observation about how conflict works. When someone criticizes you, insults you, or tries to put you down, a reaction appears almost immediately. You feel the urge to defend yourself. Your mind starts forming replies. You think of what to say back and how to prove the other person wrong. In that moment, the reaction feels justified. It feels like strength. It feels like the right thing to do. But if you watch closely, you can see what actually happens. Anger answers anger. Harsh words answer harsh words. The conflict does not end. It simply continues in a new form. Compassion does not mean you approve of what the other person did. It does not mean you pretend nothing happened. And it does not mean you must become quiet or submissive. Compassion simply means you do not let another person's anger decide your behavior. You do not have to adopt their mood. You do not have to continue their hostility. You can respond without becoming the same thing that came toward you. This is harder than it sounds. In a conflict, there is a strong pull to react in the same way you were treated. The mind wants to push back and settle the score. But that reaction only keeps the pattern alive. Most conflict feels personal because you believe something about you is being attacked. If it didn't feel personal, there would be nothing you needed to defend. So the real challenge in conflict is not winning the argument. The real challenge is staying yourself and not becoming the anger that came toward you. Teaching 8. Spiritual companionship. You may think your thoughts are completely your own, but many of them come from the people around you. This usually doesn't happen through advice or long conversations. It happens more quietly. You begin to absorb the mood of the people you spend time with. You notice what they laugh at, what they take seriously, and what they consider normal. Over time, these things shape how you see the world. If you spend a lot of time around cynical people, you may start to expect the worst from others. If you spend time around people who gossip, you may find yourself judging everyone you meet. If you're always around people who worry, you may start to feel that something must be wrong whenever things are calm. You do not usually notice this happening. It builds slowly through everyday contact. This is why the Buddha spoke about the importance of good companionship. The people close to you influence how you think, what you value, and how you respond to life. This does not mean you must cut people out of your life or decide who is good or who is bad. The question is much simpler. Are the things you truly value yours? Or did you pick them up from the people you spend the most time with? Good company doesn't mean people who always agree with you. It means people who help you stay honest. They can disagree without turning it into a fight. They do not expect you to shrink or pretend in order to fit in. That kind of friendship does not inflate you, it steadies you. And when you're trying to grow or change, that steadiness matters more than you might think. Teaching 9. Generosity. Most people understand generosity in a simple way. Give more, be kind, and the kindness spreads to others. That is true as far as it goes, but it misses the deeper point. The real effect of generosity happens inside you. When you consider giving something away, you may notice a small pause, a moment of hesitation. The mind begins to calculate, what will I have left? Is this too much? Am I losing something that belongs to me? The pause is very ordinary. It appears in many small ways, not just with money. You hold back attention. You keep the last word in a conversation. You hesitate before giving credit to someone else. In each of these moments, the mind is holding on. This is what generosity exposes. The issue is not really generosity itself, and it's not simply fear of losing something. The real issue is attachment, the habit of holding tightly to what you believe is yours. Every genuine act of giving interrupts that habit. When you give without calculating what comes back, even in a small way, you see something clearly. You see that letting go did not harm you. Nothing important was taken away. Over time, the experience weakens the grip of attachment, not because you're trying to become a better person, but because you begin to see that holding on so tightly was never necessary. Generosity is not measured by how much you give. It's measured by your willingness to release the grip of mine. A person with very little can give freely. A person with a great deal can still hold on to everything. The practice is not about generosity alone. It's about learning again and again how to let go. Teaching 10. Self-Reliance. The Buddha did not say, "Follow me." What he said was closer to this: I discovered something, now you must see it for yourself. That makes all the difference. No teacher can see for you. A teacher can describe the path. They can point out what to notice. They can explain the patterns that trap the mind. But the moment of seeing must happen in your own experience. No one can give that to you. Every teaching eventually reaches the same point. Words can guide you for a while, but they cannot replace your own understanding. At some point, the teacher stops and the rest becomes your responsibility. This is what Buddha meant when he said, you must strive. Striving here does not mean forcing yourself to become better or working harder in the usual sense. It means you stop handing your own clarity to someone else. You stop waiting for the perfect teacher. You stop waiting for the perfect method. You stop waiting for the day when you finally feel ready. The ability to see clearly is already present. You can notice what is happening in your own mind. You can pause before repeating the same reaction again. You can recognize a pattern instead of becoming trapped inside it. No one else can do that part for you. Awakening is not an upgrade that turns you into someone special. It doesn't make you more important or more advanced than others. It simply reveals something that was already here. The path is not somewhere in the future. It begins the moment you stop turning away from what you can already see.